She outspeeds and finishes Beamer off, bringing us down to our last and first Pokemon, and it's all up to this. Shiny Pokemon, some of the most valuable Pokemon you can find and some of the rarest, only having a 1 in 4096 chance to appear. And in today's video, we are going to risk the lives of these shiny Pokemon by taking on a Pokemon X and Y hardcore Nuzlocke with only shiny Pokemon. And yes, I said die because these wouldn't be hardcore rules without hardcore risks. If a Pokemon faints in battle, it is considered dead and it is unusable, meaning hours and hours of grinding go down the drain, and we can't use those handy dandy items in battle either, making every battle very stressful, as one random crit or one mistake can kill a Pokemon player's most prized possession in seconds. And of course, this video did take me ages, so if you do enjoy, smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you want to be nicknamed in the next shiny run, leave a comment letting me know who your favorite Gen 6 shiny is. Mine is probably shiny Sylveon, as it is my favorite evolution and I really do love that blue. Also, not to be too annoying, but this run literally comes down to our very last Pokemon, so make sure to stick to the end to see how many of our precious shinies end up lost. And now, I'll finally let the video start. Just like any good shiny Nuzlocke, we start off by having the same conversation for what feels like an eternity, but after being called Little B for well over 1,000 times, the nightmare ends when we are gifted Tarkay the Silver Fennekin. We get our sweet revenge by utterly destroying Shauna in our first Pokemon battle. Teach you to call me Little. And with our Silver Fox in hand, I decide to take on the first gym. This is extremely risky even with a fire type, since she has a Surskit who not only knows Bubble, but also knows Water Sport, which weakens our fire moves by 50%. Luckily though, she gets overconfident and spams Quick Attack after setting up the Water Sport. We take out the Water Pest with a lot of patience and a lot of embers, and it's on to her Vivillon, who is treating our Fire Spit like it was a warm bath. This seems to excite it though, as it uses Harden, and after taking another forced hug, the sprinklers finally turn off, and to help us even further, we are definitely in blaze range as Vivillon's tackle leaves Tarkay on 2 HP, but now at full power, Ember finally finishes her off, earning our first badge. Now I'm an idiot and didn't record this, but we find Armando the shiny Honedge on Route 6, and might I add, this is just a gorgeous shiny. Even with 2 Pokemon though, Grant is terrifying me, as Tarkay doesn't like rocks in her shoes and Tyrant literally eats Armando alive with a strong jaw bite. So just to be safe, we start hunting again and catch Chip the cheeky Sandile. It took a lot more time, but now I'm comfortable taking on Grant. We lead with Armando as he leads with the Mora, who can't really get Excalibur out of the stone, so we are free to set up a Swords Dance. After psyching himself up with some sick breakdancing, Armando easily one-shots a Mora. And now, I thought that when I did the calcs, it said that +2 Shadow Sneak was an OHKO onto Tyrant. But once again, math has betrayed me, as it doesn't even do 50%, and Tyrant's bite brings Armando down to a chilling 10 HP. Thankfully though, Tyrant doesn't like talking to women, as Chip intimidates him, lowering his attack. And like the psychopath she is, Chip traps Tyrant in a loveless marriage with a Sand Tomb, bringing Tyrant into the red. Grant is a homie though and heals Tyrant from his emotional damage as I switch into Tarkay. Then I just switch straight back into Chip to really spook Tyrant out. He's sick of Chip's scare tactics though and just stomps her as she retaliates with the crit Sand Tomb. I think it's time to split these guys up and let Tarkay take care of Tyrant. I'm not too scared of taking too much damage thanks to the Intimidate drops, so with the Side Beam we've gained our second badge. Chip is all grown up and ready for prom. Oh, how fast they grow. And here you can see the exact moment I remember that Sylveon is in this game. So back we go to catch a shiny Eevee. The game seems pretty set on giving me these lame brown Eevees. Yes, this but white please. And after crying and begging, we finally catch Beamer the shiny Eevee. After getting accepted into phase, Beamer evolves into Sylveon. We quickly roll Serena and it's on to the third badge. Karina literally can't touch our boy Armando, so I set up until I max attack because she can't stop me. And with 3 slick flicks of the blade, we have our 4th badge. Karina has a fetish for losing as she challenges us to a mega battle and 2 power-up punches our puncher Lucario. She offers us a Lucario, but it can't be shiny. I just need to go get some milk, buddy, and I'll be back. After this man gives us thousands of Laprases. Laprai? I don't know, not important. The point is, he finally gives us Kyle the shiny Lapras. While in the 4th gym, unfortunately though, since this game has awful level curves, our boy Tarkai goes over the level cap, meaning we can't use our fire type starter in the grass type gym. Turns out though, we didn't even need Tarkai, as Amaldo is here to clean up the weeds. I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Ramos leads with Jumpluff, who lands a Leech Seed as we set up our first Swords Dance. He hits us with an Acrobatics, but it's doing even less damage than Leech Seed as we get off our second Swords Dance. Now that Amaldo is at +4, we go for an Aerial Ace and one-shot Jumpluff. Next is his Go-Go, but its Grass Knot does nothing to our Hedge Clippers, as an Aerial Ace takes it out. Last is his Weeping Bell, but true to its name, it's a Wimp, and one last Aerial Ace earns us our 4th badge. As a reward for his hard efforts, Amaldo evolves. And while heading to the power plant, we almost lost Chip to a crit Air Cutter, which is why you should never take life for granted. I also forgot that Lapras doesn't actually resist fire type moves, so we almost lost Guile as well. This power plant is just trying to kill all of my shiny children. Thankfully though, these near losses of life help Tarkai fully mature into a wise and powerful mage, giving us the only final stage starter that is worse than the second stage. But it is a huge power boost, so we'll take it. We challenge the Flare mini boss, I guess, but she only has a Mighty Enter, so we just press some moves and bang boom blah, it's over, and we can head right over to the 4th badge. Clement starts with Emolga as we start with Chip, and honestly, Emolga, even with an Intimidate drop, is doing a decent chunk of damage with Aerial Ace. But Rock Tomb should be a 2-hit KO, and we outspeed now. But I guess we should have taken Chip to Specsavers, but hey, she doesn't miss twice and Rock Tomb takes it out. He brings in Heliolisk, but it knows Grass Knot, which will destroy Chip, so I bring in Tarkai, but he just uses Quick Attack, doing very little damage. Tarkai then lands a huge Side Shock, but it barely misses the KO, as Heliolisk does a decent chunk of damage with Thunderbolt. Clement uses a Hyper Potion as we bring Heliolisk into the red. He uses another one as we once again bring him into red HP. He's finally out of Chug Jugs though, so 2 Side Shocks take Heliolisk out. Next is Magneton, and with Mystical Fire, we should be able to live an attack even if we do bring it into Sturdy. But he doesn't even attack, instead opting to set up Terrain, so another Mystical Fire takes him out. Pretty easy stuff. Before taking on the next gym, I decide to do some more hunting and we find our cutest shiny yet. Meet Gibson the Goomy, or as I'll be calling him, Gibby. Next is Valerie, but Armando kinda just walls her team, and after setting up a Swords Dance, Shadow Claw takes out Morwile, Shadow Sneak one-shots Mr. Mime, and to be fair, if Sylveon crit here, we would have been in a lot of trouble, but it didn't, so another Shadow Claw wins us the battle. Not gonna lie to you guys, I thought we had to go around the city and save Shauna, but she was just playing decoy, so we head back into the Ball Factory after getting lost for, I kid you not, about 20 minutes. Once we've made it through the Ball Factory, we do a quick double battle, but honestly, it was super easy and not very interesting, so we'll probably just skip past it. Also, Chip made it through college, becoming a full-on med student, but I forgot to record the evolution, so yeah, my bad. But Chip's a lot stronger now, which is huge for us. And to prove how strong Chip has gotten, we face off against Serena again, and while her Meowsticks Fake Out and Disarming Voice combo used to shred Chip, it barely scratches her now as a single crunch takes Meowstic out. Next is her Flareon, but it doesn't even get the chance to hit Chip, as one dig one-shots it. She brings in her Absol, who Chip can't one-shot with a dig, so we take a bit of damage from Slash. But one more dig does the trick, and it's onto Greninja, who is the only obstacle in the way of Chip for a sweep. So I switch into Beamer and one-shot Greninja with a Moonblast. It is nice to see how far Chip has come though. It's just Chip's week at the moment as we take on Olympia, the Psychic Gym. But she really isn't a challenge as Chip one-shots Sigalith and Slowking with a crunch. Her Meowstic uses Fake Out, flinching us, and it outspeeds the next turn, setting up a Coal Mine, as Chip leaves it on 1 HP from a crunch. Olympia heals, but this time we get the high roll and one-shot Meowstic with crunch. Lysander then calls us ugly enough to kill, and I hope you like this guy because you're about to see a lot of him. Before saving the world though, I just wanted to enjoy some cafe cakes, but the service in here was awful, so I quickly shut them down with a bad Yelp review, and wouldn't you know, the manager was the beauteous Lysander. There isn't much to talk about here when it comes to this first battle, so we'll just skip right to the second one. Lysander starts with Menshao as I accidentally lead with Kyle, so I switch into Armado as he misses the high jump kick, dealing damage to himself. I go for a Shadow Sneak and barely miss the KO, but Menshao isn't doing much damage in return as another Shadow Sneak takes it out. He brings in Pyro, so I switch into Chip, who takes a lot of damage from Fire Blast on the switch, and as we go for dig we leave Pyro on about 1 HP, so I'm forced to switch into Take, who takes a lot less damage from Fire Blast, but ends up taking a lot of damage from Pyro's Dark Pulse, but we do take it out with a Psychic. He brings in Gyarados, so I switch into Kyle to absorb Gyarados' water moves. And I thought he would Mega Evolve, so I went for a Hydro Pump and missed. Ice Beam would have been better, but my pride won't let me not use Hydro Pump as I missed it before, and we do hit it this time but it's doing very little damage. I switch into Armado and spam Shadow Claw till Gyarados falls, and he brings in Honchkrow, so I switch into Beamer who one-shots it with a Moonblast. We quickly sweep through the group of bad cafe employees, and now it's time to face the legendary Pokemon Xerneas. And now I tried to run away and I tried to kill it, but both wouldn't make it disappear, so I just catch it with a Master Ball and call it a day. But Lysander decides to not be ashamed of his kinks as he grabs all of his toys and comes straight for our throat. Man really didn't like my Yelp review. This battle though is a lot tougher as now he has access to Mega Gyarados. He starts with Menshao as I start with Armado, and I set up a Swords Dance as Menshao does the same. Menshao then hits Armado with a pretty weak Acrobatics as I set up another Swords Dance. Menshao can't take a +4 Shadow Sneak, so that takes it out. My plan is ruined though, as I remember that Pyro is a normal type, so I'm forced to switch into Kyle, and Fire Blast is still doing around 40% due to Kyle's Ice typing. He outspeeds, bringing Kyle down to just 60 HP, as Surf leaves Pyro on what looks to be around 4 HP. Now we just have to pray he misses, and we get super lucky as he does actually miss the Fire Blast, and one more Surf takes him out. He brings in the Pimp Crow, so I send in Chip, who gets hit with a crit Night Slash on the switch. Chip lands a Rock Tomb, but the Pimp Crow retaliates with another crit, bringing Chip down to 44 HP, but another Rock Tomb takes it out. Then in comes his main threat, Gyarados, so I switch into Lapras predicting the water move, but forgot that it has Mold Breaker bypassing our ability and taking Kyle out. I bring in Beamer, but Gyara outspeeds, landing a huge Iron Head, bringing us to just 35 HP. Honestly though, I'm surprised we survived at all. We then hit it with a pretty hard Moonblast, and then I had to pick either let Beamer die or let Chip die, so with a heavy heart I send Chip out, getting the Intimidate drop as she is taken out by an Iron Head. I bring in Take and end the fight with a Grass Knot, putting Lysandra's plan to a halt. But unfortunately we lost some good Pokemon. Chip, Kyle, I'll never forget you. With a lot less team members, I had to head to the Windy Woods to hunt for a replacement, and there we find Benji the shiny Trevenant, and honestly this shiny is by far one of my favorites. It is just so slick. Honestly, Wolfric has to be one of the easiest 8th gym leaders in any Pokemon game. Even Giovanni can be more challenging than this guy. As long as you have a fire type, you're basically set. He starts with a Abomasnow as we start with Take, and I set up a Coal Mine just to make sure we are in it for a free sweep. One Flamethrower takes out Abomasnow, one Flamethrower takes out Avalog, and one Flamethrower takes out Cryogonal. This was just a cakewalk of a gym. We evolved Gibby into Goodra, and to be honest, if I just did that beforehand, maybe Lysander wouldn't have been so much of an issue. But now that we have him, let's take on Serena for the last time. She starts off with Meowstic as we live with Benji, and she hits a pretty nasty Shadow Ball before Benji disappears. Once he hits with a Phantom Force though, Meowstic falls pretty quickly. She brings in Greninja, so I switch into Beamer to tank the Dark Pulse. Greninja then lands a crit Ice Beam, but Beamer is a machine and tanks that as well, and retaliates with a Moonblast which destroys Greninja. Next is Flareon, so I bring in big old Gibby, who eats Flareon's Lava Plume like it's mild salami. Gibby hits it with a huge Muddy Water, doing around 50% as we take a bit of damage from Bite. Gibby the silly lad misses the second Muddy Water, meaning he has to tank another Bite, but he gets the job done with the third Muddy Water. Next is her Altaria, but Gibby makes quick work of it with 2 Dragon Pulses. She brings in Absol, and as I switch into Beamer, it sets up a Swords Dance, making this a lot spookier. But I can't risk switching, so I stay in, praying we can tank a +2 slash, and luckily Beamer is a machine and hangs on with 21 HP and takes Absol out with a Moonblast, winning us our last rival fight. Before taking on the Elite Four though, we have to fill our last team slot, and there is a Pokemon I love to love, and that's Tentacool. And this Pokemon is so hypers and you'll sleep on his jelly little head. Use him more, okay? We name him Digi, and once he's up to the level cap, we can take on the final challenge, the Elite Four. Digi quickly proves his worth versus the very sus fire member of the Elite Four. She starts with Pyroar, who gets insta-murked by Digi's Hydro Pump, and next is her Torkoal, but it doesn't fare much better as it also gets murked by a Hydro Pump. But it's not all easy sailing because next is Talonflame and it outspeeds most of my team, and Digi the Fool drops the ball last minute and misses Hydro Pump. And since Digi will die to another Brave Bird, I'm forced to switch into the tankiest member I can think of. So I switch into Gibby, but it's also a clean 2-hit KO on Gibby as well. So I switch again, this time into Armado, who tanks it a lot better. And I'm pretty confident he can tank a Flare Blitz, and luckily he does, and a return Shadow Claw takes Talonflame out. Praying she'd go for Flamethrower, I bring in Gibby, but she goes for a Shadow Ball on Chandelure. So I'm forced to switch again as I bring in Beamer, and thanks to its absurd evolution method, Beamer dodges the attack, giving us a chance. We get confused, but I forget to teach Beamer's Shadow Ball, so I'm forced to use Bite, which does next to no damage. We get hit by a Flamethrower, which does a decent chunk, but then it burns us, and to make matters worse, Beamer hits himself in confusion, making the damage really stack up. So I bring in Tarkay to tank the Flamethrower, and he outspeeds the next turn and finishes Chandelure off with a Psychic. Now it's time to take on the Dragon's Den, and I knew she had a Dragalge, but I didn't know she started with it, so I switched Beamer out for Armado, and 2 Shadow Claws take out Dragalge pretty easily. I switch into the Dragon Slayer Beamer, who tanks the Noibat's Flamethrower like a beast. Beamer's Moonblast then barely misses out on the KO, but the next one is a high roll, so even after healing it takes Noibat out. She brings in Altaria, who also lives on like 1 HP from a Moonblast, and after she heals it up, another 2 Moonblasts take it out. Last up is Druggigan, but it falls to a single Moonblast, making this a pretty easy battle. Now it's time to open the floodgates, and the floodgates start rushing out with a Kalorza, as I start with Gibby, who misses the KO with Thunderbolt and takes a pretty nasty Dragon Pulse in return. The next T-Bolt though does finish it off, and next is his Starmie, who sets up a light screen, but we use Power Whip, which does a really good chunk of damage. We use another one, but we miss this time, giving her Starmie a free heal. Starmie then lands a Dazzling Gleam, which puts Gibby into KO range, but we miss the Power Whip again, so I'm forced to switch into Armado, who eats up a Surf and one-shots Starmie back with a Shadow Claw. He brings in Gyarados, so I switch into Beamer, and Beamer tanks the Earthquake pretty well, but then he sets up a Dragon Dance and it's getting pretty scary. Our Moonblast though is bringing him into around half HP, and thankfully he's a green machine, so he tries to set up another D-Dance, so one more Moonblast finishes him off. He brings in the legendary Barnacle Man as I switch into Benji, who does not take a Stone Edge well at all, and I just have to pray that he misses the next one, but he doesn't, and Benji has lived a very short life. I bring in Gibby, who is ready to avenge his friend, and one-shots Mr. Barnacle Man with a Power Whip, closing up the floodgates. Next is the Iron Horse, and I'm really only worried about one of his Pokemon, which is Probopass, but since all its moves are special, I should be fine if we get a few coal mines set up with Tarkay, and when he starts with Klefki, I just know it's free to set up. So it shouldn't be doing too much damage, and after setting up 3 coal mines, we one-shot Klefki, and when he brings out Probopass, Tarkay's Flamethrower brings it down to Sturdy, but we get the burn preventing him from healing and taking him out for good. He brings in Sizzle, but its glory is short-lived as it gets one-shot by Flamethrower. Next is Aegislash, who tries to draw out his pathetic life by using King Shield, but the next turn, Flamethrower finishes him off, bringing us to the champion. After hours and hours of hunting, it all comes down to this battle to see if it was even worth it. We've lost many friends and used up a lot of my time, so now it's time to take on the final battle. She starts with a Haunter as I start with Armado. Haunter hits a very pitiful X-Sizzle as Armado sets up a free Swords Dance. She then sets up her own Swords Dance as we set up our second. She sets up a second one herself as we now have set up our third and last dance. It's time to end this dance party with the Shadow Sneak. She then brings in Goodra, who outspeeds and lands a Fire Blast, bringing Armado down to 25 HP as Armado retaliates with an Iron Head which one-shots Goodra. Next is Tyrantrum, who I thought Armado would outspeed, but he's a slow little bugger and Tyrantrum ends Armado's long and lovely life with a crunch. I bring in Gibby, and I guess he's pretty mad because he crits Tyrantrum with the Dragon Pulse one-shotting it. She brings in Auroras, who barely survives a Power Whip and sets up Light Screen. She uses a full restore as Gibby hits a weak Muddy Water, and on the next turn, Gibby finally finishes it off with another Power Whip. She brings in Gorgeist, who tanks a Dragon Pulse pretty well thanks to the Light Screen, and adds the Ghost type into Gibby with Trick or Treat. Meaning the Phantom Force on the next turn does a lot more damage to Gibby and actually brings him into Shadow Sneak range, which ends up killing him on the turn after. I bring in Digi, who finishes Gorgeist off with a Sludge Wave. Next is her Gardevoir, who Mega Evolves and tanks a Sludge Wave and then one-shots Digi in return. I bring in Beamer, who trades Moonblast with Gardevoir, who lives on legit 1 HP, allowing Diantha to heal it back up as we land another Moonblast. She hits us with her own Moonblast, which lowers Beamer's special attack, meaning our own Moonblasts are doing a lot less damage. She outspeeds and finishes Beamer off, bringing us down to our last and first Pokemon, and it's all up to this. We outspeed and finally take Gardevoir out with a Flamethrower, finishing yet another shiny Nuzlocke, and it was a quite poetic ending to this run, with our first ever Pokemon being our last. It kind of brings a tear to my eye. I hope you guys did enjoy another shiny hardcore Nuzlocke. I don't think I'll be doing another hardcore Nuzlocke video until the new games come out, but I might make a top 10 best Nuzlocke Pokemon for the new games or something like that. This video did take me a long time and I do apologize for that. My weeks have been a lot busier than I planned. Unexpected family, unexpected social events, so I do apologize for this being out just a few days late, just a week and a half, but I hope you guys did enjoy anyway, and I will see you all in the next video. I hope you guys are hyped for the new games. Anyway guys, thanks again, it is very appreciated. Love you all.